Sure. Roll call, please.
Fullerton,
Here.
Christensen,
Present.
Chin,
Here.
Brummett,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Rodriguez,
Present.
Newman,
Here.
Mayor Fullerton, you have a quorum.
We could have an invocation.
Well, good evening. My name's Sean Esterline. I'm the pastor at First Lutheran Church, or one of the three, and I want to thank you for inviting me here and letting me be here. It's truly an honor. The scriptural focus I wanted to focus on was James 3:17. It says, "Wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, and good fruit, impartial and sincere." And as we're gathering tonight to discuss the business of the city, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the weight of the decisions and the tight budgets and the conflicting viewpoints. And sometimes folks come in expecting a battle, right? And the Bible offers a different model for leadership and for community. It's built on the wisdom from above. And that kind of wisdom, it's not just about being intelligent, it's about character. It's about pure, peace-loving, considerate character. And in a city council meeting, for all of you up there, the councilors, as well as all of us here in the audience, this often means practicing patience, and especially when we want to react quickly. It means listening to opposing viewpoints with genuine desire to understand rather than just waiting for our turn to speak. It's something that I struggle with every day, let me tell you. But the scripture says wisdom is full of mercy and good fruit. And so every decision that's made here, roads, safety, zoning, anything else, whatever it is, will hopefully produce good fruit for us and for our citizens. And when we act with humility and kindness, we create an environment where the best solutions rise to the top, even when the opinions might differ. So I hope that we'll all remember each one of us is here because of the love for our people, a love for our community, and we're here to serve our community by putting their interests and their concerns above all. True strength isn't in dominating a debate. It's in leading with grace and love and serving others with care and integrity. With that in mind, we please pray. Gracious God, thank you for bringing us together safely tonight. We thank you for this city and for the privilege of serving its people. We ask for wisdom, Lord, that's beyond our own understanding. Please grant each council member the discernment to make the best decisions for the greatest good of all of our citizens, especially the most vulnerable among us. And we pray for a spirit of unity in this room. Please help us to put aside any personal agendas and work together in harmony. Give us the patience to listen, kindness to respond, and the courage to do what is right and just. And so we lift up our city staff and our first responders and everyone who works so hard to make our city a home. Please bless our discussions tonight to be productive and respectful. And may the decisions tonight bring peace and prosperity and safety to our community. We ask all this with humble hearts. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming tonight. Rise for the pledge, please.
One nation.
First on the agenda is the minutes from last meeting. I just want to, since I had a question about this, is if we have corrections to the minutes, Robert's Rules allows you to make corrections at the meeting, and if they're unopposed, then the minutes are approved as corrected. Now, if one person opposes something that you want to change in the minutes, then that would take a motion to amend the minutes, and the reason Robert's Rules set this up is so you didn't have 12 amendments on just some minor corrections. So, but just so everybody's clear on that, if nobody opposes what you want to change, that's fine to change the minutes. And the clerk doesn't get a vote, so she can't oppose you anyway. So, if you want to correct it. Anyway, do we have a motion for the approval of the minutes of April 13th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there corrections or additions?
Yes.
Mr. Christensen.
On page 2 of the minutes, the manager report should read City Manager Pastiu, not McKenna. And on page 2, under the business agenda, under motion, motion is spelled incorrectly. Should be M-O-T-I-O-N instead of M-O-T-I-N. That's all I found.
Anyone else with corrections or additions? I've already had a couple, but the clerk has got them, so we'll vote on the motion to approve the minutes as corrected. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Absence of council members, we have everybody here, so we don't have to worry about that. That brings us to public comment. Anybody from the public who would wish to speak to the council can come forward at this time, give us your name and address, and you'll be limited to 5 minutes. You can talk about anything you want to talk about.
John Laup, 114 East Lovett. First of all, as chair of the Charlotte's DDA, we do support Amanda Lipsey's appointment to our board. And with that, we'd have 2 more openings to hopefully get filled soon. On to the resolution to initiate the creation of the obsolete property rehabilitation district. I totally support that. Any improvement we can do, especially in our downtown, is a definite plus, not only for that property, but for the city as a whole. I did mention to City Manager Pastu, there was an error on the address. It's 217, not 207. And then finally, just a question. I'm the newest appointed member to the city's Brownfield Authority, and I see in Treasurer's Finance the change in the budget for the Brownfield, $812. I realize it's not a whole lot of money, but I did go back through and looked at the minutes, and I couldn't see where anything had been approved as far as even in the agenda, so I'm curious as to where that money is coming from or what that was for. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Jessica Sulecki, and I just wanted to come introduce myself. I'm the new director of the library right across the street. And so I just wanted to put a face to my name, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Anyone online?
I don't see anyone. No, I don't see anyone.
So we'll close public comment. Do we have approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and second to approve the agenda. Is there some changes we need to make?
Prior to the meeting, we had a discussion that related to the claims, whether you want to pull that and put it under council business. There's one item that we want to remove, question regarding the Rotary Club invoice. It's $530, I think, and 50 cents. And so we could do it, either put it under business or just understand if we reduce the dollar amount under consent. I could give you that number, and with the understanding that that item would be pulled for payment at this time until we do a little more research.
What's your pleasure? We can pull it and handle the business, but
So we pull it and leave it with the city manager to figure out.
then you'd have discussion.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay the claims before we leave here. So if you want to pull it, we can move it to like AA after the Poppy proclamation.
Yep.
Okay,
We're pulling A.
AA
Olay.
claims. That way you'll have a chance to discuss and tell you exactly what he wants to do.
Mr. Mayor, I also need to move item B for question. I have a couple of questions.
The Celebrate Charlotte resolution.
The agenda deadline for document submission, item B in the
Oh,
consent.
B, I'm sorry, I thought you said D, that's
No,
mine.
B.
You said B.
Yep.
All right, we can put that down to the bottom, can't we? With-
Yep, aye, to aye. That'll be good.
Okay. So B is going to become I on the business agenda, and D is going to become AA on the business agenda. Any other changes? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? been done. Mayor report. And I don't have anything major except that the manager and I will be meeting with Markham sometime in the next week or two, which is a good thing. They're expanding. We've had good information from them. And also, I think it's this Friday, we're having tacos with the ladies, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We're going to the American Federation of Women's Clubs down at, so I guess we'll be well fattened up by the time we get done. That'll lead us to the manager's report.
If I could introduce our county administrator controller, Mr. Dawson.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving us some time on your agenda. So I'm Ben Dawson, the Controller Administrator, Eaton County. I've been here before. My capacity is the Deputy Administrator, but now as Controller in my new capacity. So we've got a couple items that we'll go through. We have 2 millages that are up for renewal restoration. These are for ongoing services and business, so it's really just an opportunity to re-engage the public and talk about what services are funded by these and give kind of a little bit of background, even though they've been long-standing traditions at Eaton County. Figure it's a good opportunity to get out. And then the last, I'll come back and do an administrative update just of what's going on at the county. So with that, I'll invite Francis from Central Dispatch, our Deputy Director.
Like Ben said, my name is Francis DeVetter. I'm the Deputy Director of Eaton County 911. I appreciate your time today. This is just to talk a little bit about our millage at Eaton County 911 for Renew and Restore. When people call 911, they're usually having one of the worst days of their lives. They're scared, something's wrong, and they need help right now. And in that moment, they're not thinking about how 911 works. They just expect someone to answer. And in Eaton County, we do. Every call, every time. Since 1988, Eaton County has had a centralized 911 system funded by the millage. Instead of every community trying to run their own dispatch center, we have one system serving the entire county. That allows us to be more efficient, more coordinated, and ultimately provide better service. Because of that, Eaton County Central Dispatch is considered one of the top performing centers in the state. But what most people don't see is everything happening behind the scenes. We don't just answer calls, we support all of our police, fire, and EMS agencies every single day. For law enforcement, this includes critical support functions like entering warrants, protection orders, and missing persons. But more importantly, we are constantly monitoring and coordinating information to support officer safety in real time. For fire and EMS, each agency determines a response plan, including who responds when and when mutual aid is needed. And we make sure that's built into our system so the right resources are sent as quickly as possible without unnecessary delay. Across all disciplines, our focus is the same: responder safety and citizen safety. That coordination ensures that the right help gets to the right place as quickly as possible. At the heart of it, our job is simple: be there when people need us. We operate 24/7, 365 days a year. Last year, we handled over 112,000 calls. When someone dials 911, seconds count. The national standard set by the National Emergency Number Association is to answer 90% of calls within 15 seconds. In Eaton County, we answer 99% of our calls in 3 seconds or less. That means when you call, someone is there almost immediately. A calm voice, clear direction, help is on the way. And in many cases, help starts before responders even arrive. Our dispatchers are emergency medical dispatch certified and can provide life-saving instructions over the phone. We've walked people through CPR, helped deliver babies, and guided callers through those critical moments before help arrives. We are also out in the community. Our tactical dispatch team supports high-risk incidents and helps coordinate communications for planned community events so everything runs safely and smoothly. We have a strong focus on school safety. Schools fund their panic button systems, and we manage the contract and provide the training, working along police, fire, and EMS so everyone knows how to respond together. We also support emergency management for the county, helping coordinate planning and response during large-scale incidents and severe weather. All of this is supported by the 911 millage. The millage funds our staff, our training, and the technology used by police, fire, and EMS to receive real-time information and coordinate response without delay. So when we talk about the renew and restore millage, here's what that means. This is not a new tax. It's a continuation of what is already in place and a restoration of that to its full value after having been reduced over time. This funding allows us to continue serving every community in Eaton County with a system that is already built and already working. Without it, communities would be forced to face the complex task of developing a plan and taking on running their own dispatch services. And this includes the operational cost and increased liability to run their own dispatch center. Eaton County Central Dispatch. Together we make it work. Together we make it stronger. That's some educational background about what the 911 millage supports, but I would be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Can you tell us what the mill amount is? Is it like,
It's after the restore, I believe it's around 0.95, 0.949. Yeah. Yeah. It's 0.95, I believe.
that's what the new, not the new, but
That's after the renew and restore.
Yeah, and the renew and restore, so we did this on the median value of a home in Eaton County is $230,000. These millages don't expire until 2028. The reason we're putting them this year is because with the reforming of election law in the state of Michigan, state will no longer help pay for election costs on odd years. So this gives voters the opportunity to evaluate this and time to look at it. When that expires, the renewal cost would be 6 cents a year. So that's the restore value for a home of $230,000. Similarly, next will be the juvenile justice, and that's 17 cents a year. There are other changes the county's making because we know everybody's hurting. I mean, the takeaway we took, because we attempted a couple of millages to try to protect out-county road patrol, and we heard you. Make it work with what you've got. It wasn't that people didn't like the services we provided, they just were overtaxed. So there's a jail millage and a medical care facility millage that are going to be expiring. This will be the last year those are levied. Those two will begin saving $230,000 home, $94.63 a year in property taxes starting in 2027. Commissioners have been committed to not seeking any other revenue options. So what the county can do to help, we're going to try to do. So we just want to give that perspective as folks evaluate the renewals and what that means for their pocketbooks.
Whether that millage passes or not, does the county still have a responsibility? Is that a mandatory that has to be funded?
Well, if we're going to transition there, we have two judges here that would love to answer that question. So I'll invite them up.
Nothing more than to explain the law on all of this. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Pollard. I am the probate judge here in Eaton County. I'm the presiding judge for the juvenile division. So my responsibility is to supervise, oversee all of the operations that we have within Eaton County for our juveniles. One thing that the courts don't do very well is promote what we do. That's not part really of what we do as the court. And so as we're talking about the juvenile millage, I thought it would be a good opportunity to come out and just explain what we do and the unique things that we have in Eaton County we have because of this millage. So we're asking for a continuation of the millage that's been in place for 21 years now. And with that millage, what we've been able to do is build out some of the most impressive programming for juveniles in the state. And I know that because we have folks from across the state regularly and routinely coming to Eaton County to tour our buildings, ask how we run our programs, and ask how they can replicate it. So what you do in Eaton County with the millage dollars that we have, and you asked if it was mandatory, it is. We are responsible by statute and by case law to rehabilitate the young people that come through the juvenile justice system. And I would be happy to sit down with any of you and discuss what the law requires. But the juvenile justice system tells us that we have to attempt to the best of our ability to rehabilitate the young people that come to court. So hopefully they never end up in Judge Van Langeveld's court. She runs the district court in Eaton County, along with Judge Felsing. Never end up in Judge Cunningham or Judge Morton's court in the circuit courts. So what we do in Eaton County is provide a full spectrum of services, all the way from diversion, hopefully getting kids out of the court system before they end up with any kind of charges, working with them on informal probation, any services they may need, therapy, programs to make sure that restitution is paid, all of those things, all the way up to the point where we are looking at alternate schooling programs through a schooling program we run within the county, out-of-home placement, including secure and non-secure programming, and detention programming. And it's the most fiscally responsible thing that we can do, in my opinion, and our controller can disagree with me, but I don't think he will, that we can house, treat, rehabilitate, and work with our kids in our community for pennies on the dollar compared to sending them out of the county or out of the state. Because if I were to do that, you would be looking at treatment programming in the cost of $350 to over $1,000 a day for treatment outside of this county. And what we do provide with these millage dollars is, as I said, I think the best that we could find in the state. So I'm happy to talk about any of the programming that we're able to provide. I'm happy to talk to you about numbers. I won't talk about specific cases because we are talking about minors, but I'm very happy to discuss what I think we do with these millage dollars and why it's so important to continue what we have in place. Yes, sir.
I'd like to get you to expand on the educate part. I've done some subbing in the building, and the thing that struck me and never left me is how many young men were in that room who would be the first person in their family ever to graduate from high school.
That's right. That's right. So we actually contract with Grand Ledge Public Schools. What we do is they have 3 full-time teachers, including special education teachers, that come into our day treatment program, into our secure and non-secure and detention programs, and teach these kids. And what they do when they come out of those programs is they have real high school credits, which is unique. Most places across the state don't offer accredited programming with real accredited teachers, that those kids will leave that building with real credits so that when they do go back to their home schools, they don't have to try to redo those classes. They don't have to try to start from a place where they've lost that time. They get that time plus some. And we're very proud of the fact that we've started working with some programming to allow young people to work towards getting GED programming. When we have kids who graduate from our programs, which they do, they graduate with high school credits, some of them with their diplomas. We also have had young people who go to LCC and do classes at LCC through our programming. We are happy when able to transport them to those classes if necessary, but a lot of them are online. So we do a full spectrum of education when we're able to do so. But that's assuming that the kids are removed from their community schools. When they're still in their community schools, we provide the best level of supports we can. We assure that they have tutoring. We assure that they have whatever supports they need. We assure that they're getting to class, which is the start. That's part of it too. So we do whatever we can to support the educational needs of all of our kids. Yep.
The other judge wants to talk?
Yeah, Judge Van Langeveld.
Well, no, this is me supporting, again, as Judge Pollard said, if we support our kids and we keep them in our community and we're able to give them the opportunities that we have here, as opposed to, I can speak, and Judge Pollard and I were both prosecutors in our former life where we did this work, but it's so important, and I don't know if the community realizes, because before I was an Eaton County prosecutor, I was in Mecosta, and we did not have the resources that we have here in Eaton County. It costs thousands of dollars because, as said, we are required to provide services. If some child needs to go to a detention facility or residential care, if we did not support this here in our community, we would have to send them to other places that would cost us so much more. And what Judge Pollard hasn't talked about, and I'm sure you can talk about it much better than I can, is how other communities use, when we have an open bed, use our facilities and have to pay us to use them. Judge Pollard, do you want to talk about that?
That is true. So, I mean, when I say that our beds are sought after, we have people calling every day to try to utilize the bed space that we have. And when able to, we do try to help out the tribes, and we try to help other counties who need bed space. If there's anything that's happening in this state and really across the nation, is there is a lack of psychiatric beds, there's a lack of treatment beds, and a lack of detention beds for our highest needs, highest risk kids. So we're able to provide all of those in the county. And when we're able to, we try to support our neighboring counties. And they do pay for that bed space, which when we do have bed space. Eaton County kids come first.
What is the number of beds that you have available?
So we have 7 detention beds. So I will get into this so our detention bed space, 7 beds. That's the highest level of security. It's meant to be a bridge. It's meant to be short term. So you're talking in the term of days, not weeks or months, hopefully. Mm-hmm. We have a residential treatment program, which is secured treatment. Now I should say our detention kids get treatment too. But residential treatment is meant to be a longer term earned day program. So the kids actually have a curriculum within that program. They have to earn their days to demonstrate that they're actually working through learning, earning those days. So that's another 8 beds. We have a non-secure program, which is also residential. So the non-secure program is for our lower risk kids who aren't able to return back to their homes for some reason. A lot of our independent living kids, a lot of kids who for one reason or another aren't able to return to their homes safely or effectively. Maybe there's a victim within the home. We have a lot of reasons why we use that CBT program. That's another 8 beds. Now, if we were able to fully staff, we have another 14 beds that are available because we were able to obtain a grant a couple of years ago, which expanded our facility to add another 14 beds. And we're still working on the staffing issues. Anyone who's in business lately knows it's difficult to hire, and so we are working towards full staffing, and once that's in place, we'll have an additional 14 beds.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the juvenile?
So where would a person within the county find the statistics of success? Because I think that's when you're speaking to us, but there are many taxpayers out there that you actually are at the podium speaking to in whichever fashion, but everything's on success rate. And so they're going to say, well, it's money versus what are the chances that it doesn't? And so where do we find that? Because they're juveniles, names aren't released, numbers are numbers. Yeah. When we see people doing bad things, we don't want it to be done, but we want to make sure that it's getting corrected. Do you have a statistic place we can find this?
I could write you a thesis on why recidivism is a challenging thing to determine when it comes to kids for all of those various reasons, right? We aren't able to track names in the same way that we are adults. What does success mean for a juvenile versus an adult? Is it another contact with the court? Is it going to school? There are a lot of factors. What I can tell you, without disclosing anything that I think is confidential, is that we're able to successfully divert around 60% of our kids out of programming so they end up without a criminal record, which is an extraordinary feat. And that is something that isn't done within the residential programming. That's something that's done by my probation officers. The work that they put into these kids, I can't even begin to talk about. The relationship building, the programming, the therapy, the service management, all of that is something that they take extraordinarily seriously. And I can say without question that 60%, I consider that a success from the jump. Now let's talk about the other kids. I think if you're able to reduce risk on any of those kids, that's a win. You can't determine the impact that you've had with a lot of these kids within 1 year. You're looking 5-10 years down the road most of the time. And so I hear your question and I share your frustration. I wish I had some of those numbers for recidivism, but I think the question is complicated. So I will work to the best I can to get some numbers that might flesh that out for you, but that's the best I have off the top of my head.
Thank you. No, my question isn't directed to me. I just know that it's a matter of just money to be pulled in. And to me, it's a no-brainer because the consequences outweigh the rewards. However, unfortunately, for some reason, when there's a vote yes or no, you get either yes or you get a no. That's right. And you can only hope people understand the consequences of their choices.
The consequences, I would say, is I'm asking for 2 pop cans. in 3 years. Every year, I need 2 pop cans from you. Because that's really what we're talking about, right? It's 17 cents to assure that I can provide the level of care that I have for my kids, your kids, our community's kids, for the cost of 17 cents on average. I ran my numbers because I would encourage everybody to go to the Eaton County website. There's a calculator. You can see how much in 3 years it will cost you to add. Because again, this is something we're already paying for. It's not increasing anything for the next 3 years. I ran my numbers. I have 7 cents more that I'm going to be responsible for every year. So I would encourage everybody to go and look and then make an informed decision about what you think is best. Is it worth it to be able to provide this level of service to kids in the community? My answer is going to be yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no other question for the juvenile stuff? I got one question for Francis, though, because a lot of people don't know. Just the question is, how many people does it take to run dispatch? And I think you'll be surprised.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Great question. We have a director, Kelly. I'm the deputy director. We have 6 supervisors and 16 dispatchers, and we actually are fully staffed right now. And we also have an administrative assistant and an executive assistant. So total number is around 26 people to run our full 911 center.
And during a daytime or nighttime, there's at least a minimum of?
Yes, that's another great question, Mayor Fullerton. So during the day, we run at the minimum 3 dispatchers and a supervisor. Because of our staffing right now, we're running 4 dispatchers and a supervisor. And then after 10 p.m. until 10 a.m. in the morning, we can go down to minimum 2 dispatchers and a supervisor, but because of staffing, we're normally running 3 dispatchers and a supervisor in the overnight hours. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
And like 3 hours ago, they needed 6 dispatchers at the same time. And that's how it works. First there's nothing, then it's busy, so they were busy. Back to the
All right.
back to the controller.
Yes, indeed. And just a little context too for juvenile. These funds were 1.7 million of our budget in the current fiscal year. These have a reach because they are matched by state of Michigan. So many of the programs are matched 75%. So 75 cents on the dollar that we get. So this 1.7 has a multiplier effect. Other programs are 50% match, but it's very rare that you get a mandate from Michigan where they actually pony up funding for it. This is one of those. We did have to eliminate about 8 million from our budget last year, which was very difficult, very tough. So communities felt it, and we know, and we're doing the best we can on the back end of that. But just the perspective, Anyway, just thought I would make sure that that was a piece for you all to consider too. Yeah.
So in the question I asked, let's say it does fail. It's going to end up, you're going to have, based on what you're telling me, you're going to have to cut another 2.1 million in order to pay for those mandatory services.
Very likely.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Yep. In which case I might have more gray hair the next time you guys see me. Yeah. All right, so on to the administrator's report. So I'm the new controller administrator. I've had the privilege to serve at Eaton County for about 3 years. Before that, I worked at East Lansing as interim HR director. And I spent a couple budget cycles on the DNR and Eagle budget, the Senate fiscal agency. Before that, doesn't matter. I was an out-of-stater, so those years don't count. So very, very glad to be here. In your materials, I'll just try to hit these points. So some of the things that I'm looking for in leadership with the organization and with the support of the chair and board of commissioners is stay the course and keep moving forward. I hope that the budget we just had is the hardest budget we ever have, and we take the steps forward to mitigate the risk of anything like that ever happening again. One of the things we're looking at, the county hasn't had a salary survey since 2014, so that's going on 16 years. For those that have experience with that, salary surveys are usually good for about 10 years. Then you diverge from all your comps the last time you did a market analysis. And so we're pretty far off, hence why we can't staff the youth facility because our wages aren't competitive. So we want to do that so that we're making sure what money we have are getting invested in the right places. So for underpaying IT, the youth facility, maybe our police officers, right? So those groups might get more money in a reclass, and that's what those salary surveys are for, just making sure that you reset to the market value of the work that you perform. Another thing that we've done is going after our MERS unfunded liability, pension and retirees' health. These are long-term commitments that the county can't turn our back on. You all know this as well as us. I've met with members of your team too. We're in very similar boats. This was the first year in a few years that we've had to do a waiver because our funding went below 60%. It was at 58%. Part of that is MERS says we're at 60, but by our audit, we're at 58 because they don't account for smoothing the same way MERS does. And I'm so sorry for everybody listening because that is very boring actuarial talk. But what it means is you have to put a sustainable corrective action plan in place. I'm happy to report we had already done that through the prior budget, but those metrics have about a year lag time, right? Because of how long it takes to do valuations. Some of the things that we did, we were able to secure a police services contract in Delta where they pay 100% of the expense. Part of the terms of the contract was they put $2 million up as a cash injection into our MERS. We put $1 million up as a match. So we put $3 million into our most unfunded group, which was the Sheriff's Command Unit. When we did that, MERS agreed to add a 5-year extension to our amortization schedule. So you guys live with it as much as us. The MERS had set a deadline. Everybody had to be 100% funded by 2041. What that did was put a very tight clock on every municipality to fund their pensions. I would say the metrics that they chose in laying out those plans are very conservative, not politically, financially conservative in that they have, I don't want to say generous, but the life expectancy for the retirees. They want you to put 200% of the assets aside for the liability of each retiree. And that has caused to ballooning pension obligations for municipalities that we all work through. So our path forward, because we can't rewrite those rules, we have to live with them, is putting the money there and let time value of money start working for us. Let the market start earning so that we're earning more than we're paying out in benefits each year. That amortization extension, if something offline, but is probably something we could talk about and see if you guys could do too. If you're able to make commitments up front, MERS might add that 5 years. Part of our strategy is you don't let off the gas though. You don't just say, yay, my annual payment went down, so I'm gonna spend what I would have spent originally. Like, no, you gotta keep committing funds to continue to drive down that unfunded liability. Another piece that we did with that contract, there's a 15% administrative fee. We committed 5%, so a third of that admin revenue on a reoccurring basis to the unfunded liability. Use that as a framework. It's the same contract. We have Windsor, much smaller, one deputy contract. But that's the framework we're moving forward with our contractual services. Have to have an admin fee. Everybody's helping pay in, and we all enjoy the personnel costs as they start to drop. We're waiting for our valuation this year to tell us how big of a jump it moved the needle. So we should have that by June. So questions on that before I move forward? All right. The other thing we did is adopted some policies to mitigate risk and manage performance. So we're in the process of developing a complaint procedure for citizens and residents and external partners. We didn't really have a good flushed out one right now, so most of the complaints kind of trickle up through our commissioners and kind of land them in departments and try to work through them, so we want to formalize that as a procedure. For the fiscal stability, talked about the MERS piece, so we're really working on our expenditures there by managing that. We're going to have discussions next month about, on the flip side, how do you protect and grow your Eaton County tax base through positive techniques, and so commissioners will have an opportunity to explore ways that they can do that through housing, so looking forward to having those discussions. Talked about the administrative revenue. We adopted a policy where if it's a grant or if it's a program, like we have to collect admin. There had been some agreements going back, worthy causes, and the first instinct is like, let's just take the work on for free. But grant reporting and the administrative time for staff to take that on, it builds and builds and builds. So we've kind of gone back to the looking glass and evaluated that if we're taking this stuff on, even if it's minimally, we need to collect some kind of admin to do the work. All right. We are looking at our capital improvement planning. I see that on your guys' agenda for tonight. Prior to a couple years ago, the county really didn't do a formal one of these, but we've had it for the last 3 years, and I'll be presenting it next month as well, but that's your 6-year capital outlook. Some of the things that we've done as well for accomplishments, we've gone after state and federal funding pretty aggressively. We've been able to secure things that are reducing the county's budget and making it easier for us to operate. So we secured a $5 million grant towards a $60 million drain project up in Delta Township, which is just killing everybody. We were able to just secure another $2.5 million for that. And we've been instrumental in lobbying for reforms for drains at the state level. Personally, I don't want to give up on that until they find a way to appropriate money to help communities match and relieve the burden that these drains cost. They cost homeowners a ton, businesses a ton, but they also hit municipalities, sometimes up to 25% for the locals and then 15 to 20% for the county. So it's hurting everybody. We are asking for funding for an animal control building. We don't have animal control enforced services anymore because we don't have the staff and the building's in poor shape. But if we can get a new building, we're going to approach communities about what would an enforcement model look like if everybody wanted to contract to bring back enforcement officers, which I know a lot of law enforcement have kind of, they'd love to have somebody to tap when they come across a rabid dog or some kind of crime or something involving a dog biting somebody. So hope to have more discussions with you all on that in the future. We asked for funding from the feds for missing middle and missing middle housing. So similar to what we talked about, if you can grow your tax base in a positive way, add supply, bring down the cost of homes, because we have a supply issue in this country. There's just not enough homes being built. So if you can incentivize more to go up, it will bring down the prices of the market. That's the process. I'm saying this, you need a lot of supply to really drive that, but you got to start somewhere. And then ADA infrastructure improvements, and then additional security equipment at the courthouse and the youth facility. Our scanners are getting pretty old. So those are funding requests that we have out this year. If we can get 1 or 2 of those, anything that we can get for external funding goes a long way. So previously, Eaton County never went to the legislature to try to get money, but we've been showing up and we've been getting results. So we're going to keep doing that. Questions? Maybe I can get a sip of water. Community Parks Grow Program. Letters went out in late March, so those should come in by May 1st. So we'll be meeting if there are requests from communities like Charlotte. They can ask for matches. We use Parks millage money to do that, so that we're helping to expand the footprint of parks outside of just the Eaton County Parks program. So if you guys have a submission, I might see it coming up. All right.
What is the total amount of money that that millage brings in? And what is the amount that I understand you have to give to the local communities?
Yeah, so it was not actually millage required to do that. Commissioners adopted that program because they wanted to spread the benefit of the allocation that we got. Historically, they've done $400,000 as like the starting baseline, but then each year they have overdone it, and sorry, not overdone it, but they've went ahead and added additional to cover some larger projects that came in for requests. And then how much the millage brings in, I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say 2.2, but I can confirm and get that back to 2.2 million.
And what is the amount that you have to award to the communities? I mean, is there a set amount that you have?
I think it's usually the committee that meets on it. It's a public meeting, so we welcome people to come in and participate or be present. But sometimes it will vary depending on the size of the project and scope. So someone might get 40,000, 30, or more. Just depends on how big of an ask was made.
I have another question regarding that. I'm thinking of the projects that we could have park-wise in this town and the organizations that we already have, and I'm just wondering about partnerships. How far do we go? I mean, with Eaton County, City of Charlotte, and then some of the other entities. I'm looking for some examples of partnerships in parks that you can give me.
Off the top of my head, I know we did where we partially funded a study up in Delta for them to do like an adjoining pedestrian bridge, which was part of a much larger project. Communities have leveraged our funding to go after trust fund grants through the DNR, which we recommend. So if the community can give a little, get from us, then you can approach the state and say, hey, we've got $50,000 to put towards this. So yeah, we're good with our funds being leveraged to go after state dollars. All right, millage discussions. So we've got a bunch of renewal restorations. So we've got the two that we talked about that have direct financial implications for the county. Two that don't have direct, but they have direct service implications for members of the community. So you've got the road millage, which will expire. Well, really, the last levy expired last year. So if it's not renewed in November, there will be no levy in 2026. That will be going on. It's also renew, restore, using the $230,000 home. That's a 41-cent difference on annual taxes. We have tax calculators at the website, similar to the prior ones we ran. So you can go enter your address and it'll take you right to it. For someone who's been in their home 10, 15, 20 years, your home is considered what's called capped, where the increases they've been not at the market value, right? So there's this divergence that occurs the longer that you're in a home, which is to the benefit of the homeowner. Doesn't feel like that, but I can assure longtime residents, if you move, your tax bill will jump, because that's how it happens. So you can see exactly what the millages would be for your home, particularly. And the road and E-Tran will be in November, and then 911 and juvenile will be in August. And I would just encourage folks, I know ballots are long, and in the wisdom of the state, they essentially set it up to where everyone's going to run their millages in even years, because that's the only way to let the state pay for your election. So I would imagine that every even year, we're going to just have long ballots. So encouragement is the ballot sometimes turns over to the next page, so encourage folks to hang in there. Talked about the two police services contract. We're exploring if there's a structure that would work for multiple communities to join together in an agreement. We had 6 or 7 townships approach us from Oneida to Calamo and all of District 1 that wanted to see what that model would look like for 2 police officers or 2 sheriff's deputies. So we put that together, and they're evaluating if that's something that they think they can fund. Led to the discussion, can we just do a large regional one for all out county? So those are discussions that are happening. And then the animal control, that if we are able to secure for a building, even if we get enough money to cover, say, 60% of the project, if we need to bond for the other 40, that's a strategy that's being talked about, because we have to maintain a facility for animals tied to court cases. So while we don't have to do the enforcement aspect, we have to have the facility. And that building's, I think, 36, 38 years old, and it's seen better days. So in the next 2 to 3 years, I think we're going to have to build a building one way or another. So if we can get someone to help pay for it, that's what we're going to do. And welcome any questions. Yeah.
Questions for the controller?
What kind of marketing program have you put together to try to get all of these, or are you working on it?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at opening day, hey. I mean, part of it is we don't have resources in the sense of we probably won't be able to do any like mailers or anything like that. That stuff's expensive. And honestly, an election cycle, people just get fatigued because they're constantly getting shouted at on cycles like this. So a lot of it's going to be us coming out and doing educational to communities and to community leaders like yourselves, hoping that if we talk to you all, 12, 15, you all can go turn it into 20, 18, have that multiplier effect, because often people are going to care more what you have to say on a matter than what they're going to read on a Facebook post. So doing the best we can with the resources we have. We've got some flyers that we'll make available if you wanted to have them around or have them to take with you on your person as you talk about it. We welcome any exposure you can help us get.
Mr. Brumman had a question.
Couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you first off coming out because I haven't met you before. It doesn't sound like it's a job that's really all that sought after from the average individual. Because, you don't have the answers, but you know the solution, but that means somebody has to spend their money, and everyone wants to save their money until they want something, and then they don't know how to come they don't have it. I'm assuming that's the case. Seems to be the case everywhere. So my question for you, though, is, from your standpoint, what causes us to get into a point where a 38-year-old building is in disrepair? Do we have to work on not only getting another building, but doing what it takes to keep these preserved? I personally think that a building should last 50 years if well taken care of. I have a house that's closing in on 100 years old and still livable and pretty darn good. So I think that we need to figure out the proactive approach for longevity of all the things that go onto the ballot. There are many of those, but that's part of the approach. And the second one be definitely mailers is totally, 1965 approach. But I would empower or question if you would take the time to make a video, just like you're presented on a video right now for eternity, to spell out what it is that we need to do for longevity and how we can be accountable for one another as we pay our tax dollars forward to the next generation, that we won't be asked about it in another 40 years for another animal control building and or any of the other millage issues. And so if you would be willing to do that, I would appreciate that, and I think all the taxpayers would too, that at least we spell out the problems and the solutions and have accountability from multiple levels. I wished I would have spoke on this a moment ago, and it's just a question answer from you, is that I gather that you are above the drain commissioner. In a way, in a check and balance.
Is anyone above their drain commissioner?
Well, so.
I don't write the laws, but I do read them and scratch my head sometimes.
Sure. Well, the question that I have is, though, when it comes to who answers to who, and the fact that, just for the record and all those that are here, the Board of Determinations for every drain that actually gets determined and whether it needs. Nobody talks about this. Can you elaborate on the Board of Determinations and a requirement within the county for each drain that is deemed to need repair or work?
Yeah.
Those that may be listening and us here on the...
Yep. So let me make sure I've got it. First off, the best way to manage your capital infrastructure is through a competent capital improvement program, your 6-year outlook, right? So like your point is, a bad building shouldn't catch up on you as a surprise. There are a lot of signs that it's going bad. Your chillers, your HVAC start breaking down. You start having water coming in odd places, right? So as you notice that you're starting to spend additional money on just like basic mitigation, it's a pretty good indicator that you've got some hefty repairs coming up. The animal control building, I will say, gets a lot of intense durable use compared to some other structures. The county courthouse, I want to say, is 1976, and while I would say it could use a facelift, it's still standing pretty strong, even though we got to get out and manage like the brick work, and we've got water in the basement, right? Everybody's got that. But yeah, your CIP, that's the way to do it. Whether or not we can do a video, I'll have discussions with our team. We run the same thing that everybody does, just so many demands and not a lot of time. And sometimes videos can get misconstrued, as we found in 2023 when we tried to communicate what was going on back then. But I hear you, it's a much more engaging medium than just like a mailer, and it's got a much further reach without having to invest money in pushing it. Then your last question. So drain commissioners have a lot of authority. There's a running joke in Michigan that the drain commissioner is the most powerful person in Michigan because they have the ability to levy a tax without ever having to take it to the voters, right? It's the only office that has that authority. I think the wisdom at the time was nobody wants to pay for infrastructure. It's frustrating, it's monotonous, and so they tried to build that into the code to give the authority to just do what needs to happen. But the unintended consequences of a law passed in 1952 and seldom updated is that you have an office that has very little accountability upward. Board of Commissioners control the budget for like staff and personnel and vehicles, but in terms of executing the services of maintenance and drains and making determinations about what projects need to go forward rests solely with the drain commissioner. And mechanisms to remove them are, right up there. The governor can do it with cause, but it's very limited. And then recalls are expensive, very time-intensive gestures that have to come from members of the public, right? So that's what you're working with. Board of determination, some of the bills at the legislature that they've introduced is trying to attack that very same thing. We all get inundated with mailers in the mail, and half the time throw it away if it's not obviously a bill or something you would think you're going to get a check, and then you open it and find out someone's trying to sell you insurance and you throw it away anyway. But those determinations come in the mail, so they're a statutory process. And from that point of that meeting being held, so from the moment you get that mailer, people should be showing up to talk about the drain project that's being proposed. Because once a determination's been made at that hearing, you have no say in the process. And that's actually, I believe, the last place the drain commissioner has authority whether or not to stop a project either. So once a determination's been made that the project needs to move forward, it's going. And there's no off-ramp for that. I don't know if that answered your question, but let me know if it did.
I mean, and if you want to oppose it, although I've been a number of board of determinations, and the requirement be that you are not benefiting from the improvement to that particular drain. And there is a body that has to sit in presence to see the issues at hand and the information presented. And I think there are a lot of people here and many places other that are not aware that that meeting occurs and that they have the ability to be on the board so long as they don't benefit from the actual change to that drain. In addition to that, that is their time to speak their piece. And then after the fact is when people are upset with the particular person who determined things need to be changed.
Yeah.
And maintenance throughout the whole state gets put to the back burner until it's really bad, whether it be the drain or maybe even the building and or whatever it is. So thank you very much. And if you are in opposition to what I just said, please enlighten me.
Well, I'm not dumb enough to answer that question, but no, but no, I understand it's frustrating. And honestly, the maintenance figure, so I think it was like 1,000 per mile of line. It just got updated to 10,000. It was the first time that number had ever gotten updated since 1952. So you had drain commissioners that had really very minuscule resources in terms of trying to address. The 10,000 helps, but also, I mean, anybody that's had to rent heavy machinery or have a contractor come out. I just had to have my sewer line replaced a couple months ago, and 13 grand gone for half a day's work. These services are expensive. At some point, maybe, never mind. Maybe municipalities all team up and have a giant DPW department with heavy machinery. I don't know. But as it sits right now, when you're dealing with contractors, it's a steep expense. And to your point, people should pay attention to those mailers, show up and be heard, be involved in the process, at least know what's going on. That's the best thing that I can recommend. I know we're all busy. We have kids, we have parents, we have that are ailing, right? We all have different commitments that we have to allocate our time to, but there's nothing worse than finding out about a drain project 3 years after the board of determination when you get an assessment notice in the mail.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a comment in terms of E-Tran, which I do sit on the board of directors of E-Tran. We just finished a project with the University of Michigan Sustainability Group, and we have a complete media package, including a video and materials that can be posted on social web and whatever. So I'd like to get with your communications person, and we have the rights to it, so we can modify it and see what is best for the county, as well as seeing that it's technically your millage.
Yeah.
So just let me know and I'll get it to you.
Definitely. And if anyone's wondering, the implication for renewal on E-Tran, 8 cents a year. So going back to the Renew Restore, the $230,000 home, all 4 of these, you add them up and you're less than 50 cents a year. And know that the Board of Commissioners is not going to renew a jail millage and a medical care. Those were related to infrastructure when we added an expansion to the medical care and we redid the jail like 20 years ago. When those drop off, that will be some relief to homeowners. So we appreciate everybody's patience while we try to navigate this tough time for local government, but we're doing our best.
Okay, thanks for coming,
Thank you.
and all your crew. Mr. Manager, did you have further report that you want to talk
I
about?
might save it toward staff comments toward the end of the agenda. I got a couple items.
And you got your attorney report in your packet. Is there any questions on that? We seem to be doing pretty good. And you got your CPD report. And then council member committee reports. And maybe we'll start over here. Anyone been to a meeting?
I have not had one since the last report.
Mr. Chin?
No report.
Mr. Rodriguez? Oh,
So yeah, the DDA met. That team is doing a great job for sure. Getting more and more efficient. Thanks to John here and the whole team that's there. But you're doing a great job. I'm not sure how much details you guys want, but they've just been working with a marketing firm. Just working on placemaking, improving the downtown. I think the biggest thing probably is just the total amount of income that came in to that committee, which was, actually I don't have the number, it was supposed to be like 7,500, but that'd be 19,000, I think somewhere around there. So they have a little more funds to work with than suspected, and they're working hard to improve the placemaking, so. And then as far as the airport goes, also went to that meeting, and they're working on what they're working on. They got the airport master plan. They're waiting on some federal government approvals for some different projects. I think the next things they got coming up are the ramp and then the fence on Island Highway, improving the credit card reader on the pumps. I don't know if you guys want all this information, but basically next big project's coming in 2027, which is going to be the kind of design of the hangars, and I think that's set to actually happen in 2029, I guess, if we get the funding. So they're doing some cool things out at the airport. I think the biggest thing from there that I got from the meeting is just that the airport is getting closer and closer to breaking even on income coming in. So I know the airport, that's always been a big thing. But they got more things coming out there. They got more people flying in, more gas money coming in. So, good. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks.
thank you.
The Parks meeting, we had that. And we discussed some items related to the tree nursery, Arbor Day celebration. For anyone who may not know about the tree nursery, it actually has reality now. There are trees planted, lots of trees planted there. We had the first large-scale celebration in the city, and we have a lot of future trees, closing in on 300 trees planted and ready to find new homes in the future. There was talk about Mac Goebel update and the possibility that there's the bleachers and how they're going to be acquired and be available for use there, and then also for other events. Park designs were talked about, the updates. There are some parks within the city that need some updating. The maintenance parts of the parks and what it takes in order to keep them spruced up and cleaned up. New introductions of signage so that you know which park you're at, but that it's a little bit more modern. It talks about the history of the park and how it came to be and why it is what it is. There was talk about Lincoln Park, some aspects that could use some improvement, including replacing some of the trees that were lost as a result of the drain improvement along the railroad track there, and some additional things related to the use of that, including the skate park. There was a little bit of discussion about what is referenced right now as the South Lincoln Park, which is not a formal name, but yet it gives you an idea of where it is, or by the new water tower, what we refer to as the sledding hill, and just some other things there that may come to be. It was a great meeting. It was quite lengthy, but there was well attended by 2 different people who were not on the board, and so that was great, and hopefully more in the future. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. Invite anyone to look at the minutes when they're presented, so that way you can follow along, and if you choose to come to attend, that would be outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Newman?
We had our Camp Francis meeting last Tuesday, continued talking about funding for the upgrades to the cabin and the handicap accessible walkway going from the cabin down to the fireplace. We were able to figure out where we wanted to put our newest dedicated park bench. So that's going to go down by the fire pit, and some plans to have concrete poured down around the fire pit so we could do additional donated, dedicated park benches around the fire pit down there. So just general upgrades. Their basement floor was completed, so that looks really nice. It's actually Stark Concrete did a great job on that, putting a barrier up the wall a little bit to help control the water and messes down there as well. So that's a very usable space, so a great addition to the cabin as well. So they're just still continuing to look for funding outside, different donations and grants and things like that to keep improving the grounds.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Christensen, did you have anything?
I have none.
And that brings it to me. The fire chief and I attended the ambulance quarterly meeting, and there's some really interesting comments out of there. This Troy that started has turned the thing around completely. In fact, he's looking at, lowering when we get out of our next contract with the ambulance, he's thinking it probably will be a lesser amount for us the next time through because they're able to make some money. But he did tell us they have 76 on staff to run the ambulance around here.
Wow.
And if you want to know, in the city of Charlotte, not counting the transfers, just in the city of Charlotte, there was 422 calls in that quarter. And usually half of those or 60%, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60s, are ALS, Advanced Life Support. And then on top of that, there was 633 transfers out of the hospital. And where they make their money, obviously, is in transfers. Because they got nothing invested, but then they still got to provide the service. He told us that an ambulance now costs $332,000. And the money that we give to the ambulance service through the special assessment, we ask about that to make sure it goes only towards vehicle and capital equipment. So that part we're spelled out with. And an interesting fact that I know Mr. Chin was involved when we were thinking we might not have an ambulance service. He told us that it takes 2,000 runs a year to have an ambulance service break even for one rig. So obviously, if you take our 422 times 4, we would have been just about there with one rig. So it's amazing that we have U of M. He assured us that U of M is 100% behind this service here. They're expanding. Their idea is to expand and take in more money. They're expanding into Clinton County. They've been asked to go up there some. And that's only going to help us as a nucleus right here. So we're lucky to have him. And it's a totally different service than what it used to be. Any questions on the ambulance? They do great. We work great with them. Brings us to mayor only appointments. I'd like to appoint Amanda Lipsy to the DDA board, and I think the chairman said that he thought she was a good choice.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, we have left. We have.
Just A and C. Yeah, C and D.
We're going to be down to the approval, that'd be C and D. Approval of authorized signatories for MDOT contract and approval of resolution 2026-21 authorizing Celebrate Charlotte street closures June 18th to the 20th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those two items? There is none, I guess. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved for those two items. That brings us to a Buddy Poppy proclamation by, yes, sir?
AA,
AA will become in the business agenda.
okay, yeah.
A is Buddy Poppy proclamation by Steve Latchaw. Anyone a proclamation? Yes.
Steve Latchaw. I'm immediate past chairman of the Americanism Committee for Charlotte's VFW Post 2406. This is Rick O'Connell, my replacement. Come on up. Every year, Buddy Poppy, I don't have to go into a whole lot. It comes from World War I, and the Poppy's a buddy, and you can read about that in most history. We'll make it short. It's fundraising for the local VFW Post to raise funds, and all that money stays in Charlotte. And it goes to veterans that come through our post needing help and spouses. One I can tell you about last year, we had a Michigan National Guardsman was called up and went overseas, left his newly married wife at home, and was having car problems, and the National Guard's supposed to take care of the spouses, but they didn't, so that's where we step in to help her with problems with an engine, problem with flat tires and things like that. So all the Buddy Poppy money does stay right here in Charlotte, and we administer it through this guy right here. Do you want to say anything, Rick?
Just briefly, that the money, although it stays here locally, does not go directly to the post. It goes to benefit the veteran members in the community. So it's not like we're going to buy a new oven with it. It's not like we're going to buy a new oven or anything with it. The money goes to the veterans in need in the community. And that will be May 15th and 16th this year that we're going to be soliciting donations. I'd like to break our record we had last year of $1,674, I believe. So I think that's, unless you have anything to add, Steve.
So do we have a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the proclamation for Buddy Day, or Buddy Poppy Day. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd be glad to sign that for the,
Yay.
Whereas.
I hope you're good for a picture too, because that's what we're going to put in the newspaper, right? The newspaper's been nice to us too about putting and helping us with our causes too. I put out a shout for the County Journal.
Look at Brian stepping up like. There we go. Good job.
Thought there was a big fire, y'all ran.
Sorry, audience. There's a reason for that. If your picture's in the newspaper, you can get compensation and all that. These people know that. Thank you. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
that brings us to double A. Correct? Approval of resolution authorizing Charlotte, or, I'm sorry, approval of the claims and expenditures, is that where we're at?
Yes.
Totaling $902,210.09. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? Now, we want to make an amendment to that motion, correct?
Yeah, what we're requesting is to change the claims amount to $901,670.59. There was a request to look further to the invoice associated with the Charlotte Rotary Club totaling $539.50. But the claims amount, again, is $901,670.59.
So with it being on the business agenda, is there a motion to amend the claims resolution
I'll make that motion to amend.
to take off the Rotary, and the claims will now be $901,670.69?
Correct.
Second?
Ed,
That's what I said.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment passed. Now we have the actual resolution to pay the claims in the amount of $901,670.69. So it's the claims as amended.
So moved.
We got a motion on the floor.
We already did that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Rummett,
Yes.
Chin,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item B, approval for authorization to solicit requests for proposal qualifications, develop a 6-year capital improvement plan, and that would be City Manager Pastu.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, I know there's been a lot of discussion about putting together a plan. This would solicit proposals. We would post it on BidNet later this week. They would come in, they would be due, the proposals, early June. Probably have it to council maybe the last meeting in June or 1st of July, but would like to see the process get started late summer, work its way through with staff. There's a lot of information that we have and studies. It's just getting it all assembled. But ultimately, run through the Planning Commission because, as I put in the packet, by statute, the Planning Commission does have responsibility with the capital improvements program, but ultimately bring it to City Council probably the 1st of January for adoption. It'll put the foundation going forward, I think, as part of the upcoming budget process that you'll have with 27, 28, and as Mr. Dawson indicated, it's really important to have that kind of vision where you're having existing problems or from a planning standpoint with the asset management plans that we have to do a good evaluation to utilize your money most effectively and efficiently in addressing infrastructure-related items. So with that, just asking for approval to get it rolling.
Somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Newman, second. Any discussion? Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So capital improvement plan, I think I first heard of this the first day I probably sat down in this chair. And then that didn't happen. I'm almost done. November will be, I'll be done in November. I know you guys will all miss me. I think when Mr. Chin came on board, it became a regular topic thanks to him, and we didn't really get far. So to see this is already a good jump, and it sounds like this is going to be going beyond what I think even I was kind of looking for. Here's the concern I have is often we get this information, and the question is, how does it get implemented? That's the key. It seems like right now we have a lot of information flowing around about what we need. Now we're going to pay someone, which I don't know how much that's going to cost, but I've been here long enough to know it ain't going to be cheap. I want to know about how is this implemented? Like once they do their part, this firm, like how is that going to translate into us actually taking that information and having that plan actually worked out? Because that seems to be the hardest part.
Well, there's two aspects to it. Is that's why we're doing this, is to get it organized. We've got information in a lot of different places, but to try and internally assemble it and put it into an organized manner. For example, with roads, again, you hear about the PASER rating, but you also have projects like your underground utility replacement, what have you. So it helps with the planning process as to how to address projects based on those needs so that you're not ripping up road one year and then putting the water main back in, and it kind of does there's some qualifications related to the priorities, if you will, and that's what, again, also what you'll benefit from this. But the other thing with it is you're going to have a financial plan, and that's important to have a starting point as to how you put these projects into your system over the next 6 years. And the other thing with it is to keep in mind, because it goes to the Planning Commission, it's a planning document. There may not be funding dedicated, but there may be a grant or something that comes up that gives you an opportunity to address it and spend the money. I mean, I will tell you, I had long discussions with the engineer in the past that it's a planning document. A lot of it is going to be funded with the resources that you have, but there's going to be some projects that are going to be identified as unfunded. And lo and behold, something pops up where there's an opportunity. You've already got it in the queue, knowing that it's a need, and you move forward with it. So, but at the end of the day, what you have to understand is you're going to have resources to help pay for this, and it's just getting it organized going forward. But there will be a financial plan when it's all said and done, based on the needs that we have.
Other questions?
From my aspect, again, as Councilman Rodriguez pointed out, I've been seeking this for a long time now, since June of '22. I'm in favor of hiring a consultant because it is a big job. I just completed, I forgot how many weeks of training with the Michigan infrastructure through the state of Michigan, and was given the Capital Asset Champion program, and I've been certified in that. So I really understand the importance, even more so, of this. And of course, a lot of the information goes through the process at budget time, so it helps for that. The one thing I wanted to ask, though, is in reading the law, the Act 33 of 2008, it specifically focuses in on public structures and only public structures. So I see that part, as it talks about, the asset plan for our buildings is a planning commission duty, but the rest of it is not, because it doesn't fall under the definition of public structure. So I just need that cleared up. I don't know if we asked our attorney to clear that up, but before we move forward with the commission having more than just the structures, we ought to check on that.
Well, I still think, if I may, answer for the Planning Commission to be aware of what the plans are related to water, sewer, streets, sidewalks. What will also come out of this is parks, trails, those type of capital improvements that I sometimes think get very overlooked, and that would be elements that are important into this process. So it's more of a holistic approach rather than just looking at facilities or just buildings, that type of thing. I think that they're all kind of interrelated and need to be thought of in more of a holistic approach in going forward.
Any other discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Crack seal material purchase for street maintenance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Support. Somebody must. Is there a discussion? Crack seal, we have staff here tonight. If you need discussion, Mr. Finn?
Well, my only question is, of course, the fact that the total cost is $32,400 and the formal bid process as required by policy was not followed. And although I support strongly the concept and what we need to do, but again, I'm just having problems with almost every meeting that we have that we're just okay with no bid contracts. And when I ran for this position originally, that was one area that I ran on. Street maintenance, of course, was one of them, but the other one was the fact that we wanted to eliminate no bid contracts. And, you know, originally we had a limit of $500 before it came to council. We moved it when we changed the policy of making sure that we bid on these service contracts and supplies and materials. That went up to 10,000, and then we increased it even more to 20,000. And even at 20,000, we're still not bidding, and we're not doing formal bids as required by the policy. That's all I have to.
Answer that question, Mr. Brummett? You-
I don't know. You'll hear it probably every meeting on my cord too. Just kind of not going to the weeds, but gas is up like, what, $1 or $2 a gallon? So maybe we're going to have to move that number, or otherwise we're going to have this discussion every time because things cost more, and in order to find this, we need more. We have 2 large-scale grocery stores in this town. Go find a loaf of bread somewhere else. Unfortunately, when we find good places to buy stuff, I assume that we've done the work. I don't have any question or any reservation to question the staff and or the city manager on why we may or may not have another opportunity for other places to get this. But I do understand where Mr. Chen is stating that the number exceeds that. Maybe it's the cost of the product, maybe it's the fact that there's only a few places to buy it. But unfortunately, we are where we're at, and we need to improve our infrastructure. So that's my thoughts on the matter.
If I may, Mayor, explain it, maybe we could kind of put this together with a little more detail. There's 2 elements to it. One is renting the machine. That's, I think, under $5,000 for a month, and that was certainly within my purchase authority. The second part of it is just the purchase of the material to be used for the crack sealing itself, the emulsion that goes with it. We could have bought it in various quantities, and just so you understand, we reached out to 3 vendors. One did not provide a bid, the other one did, and in this case, there was 2 of them. Obviously, the one we're recommending, and the other one, it was cheaper for us to go with this vendor for the material end of it. We probably could have laid that out a little bit easier, but we did solicit proposals and requests for that. And so the other part of it is that it was much cheaper on a per unit basis for us to go large, picking up a pallet as opposed to doing it something that falls within the purview of the purchasing policy. So just so you understand is that we did make the effort. We didn't want to skimp on the unit pricing because we would get better pricing going to a full pallet rather than buying it at a half pallet per unit cost. So again, we probably could have, you know, explained this a little bit different, but there are the 2 elements. The first one we're comfortable with as far as renting the equipment to do this. And the other part is the same company that we're talking about does work with the County Road Commission as well as MDOT. So I will tell you, I'm comfortable that it meets certainly the spirit of our purchasing policy, which is why it was brought forth.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
But why couldn't it just be bid, I guess? Why couldn't it just be bid out?
In this case here, we actually reached out to vendors for cost proposals. I mean, we did. And so we rely on that to, you know, for getting the competitive pricing that you're looking for.
So he's saying that they actually did it, it just wasn't in a sealed way, is what I'm reading.
Yeah.
They took bids, but it wasn't a sealed bid.
And if I might just add, in defense of, you know, the process here is, this is the first time the city's staff has done this in, what, 15 years? So they probably went into it without having a good knowledge of what the pricing would be. We could send it out, I think, you know, for bids, but it probably isn't going to come up any different than what you had if it was solicited as proposals and or if you used it as a sealed bid process. Again, unit pricing, we didn't know what the difference was going to be if you went with a full pallet amount, which is probably what we're going to need versus a smaller quantity. So there's a learning aspect to going along with this as well.
Mr. Mayor, just because it seems to be brought up, I think it's appropriate. I do think that we should move the purchasing policy onto the agenda really as soon as possible to discuss it, and so we don't have to do this every time.
Okay, Mr. Christian.
Say our last meeting, we approved the reclamite, and The reclamite doesn't seal those big cracks, and if we're gonna invest in the reclamite, then we obviously might as well follow suit and make sure that everything's completely sealed.
I just have one minor comment. So within 1 week, this price went from 27,000 to 32,400. That's 5 days. And the vendor that provides this said with the gas prices and with the stuff going in Iran that this is probably going to double within the next couple of weeks. So.
Okay, any other comments? If I'm reading the city manager right, what he could have done is spent 19,950 and then bought some more in another month? Is that what you're saying?
That's my point, is that we're not playing the game. You know, we're trying to stay within the spirit of the purchasing policy that you have, which, by the way, I think is a very, very good policy. And staff will tell you how frequently I'm reminding them of our obligation with it. I think it's a good policy, and I think in this case here, the effort was made to get good competitive proposals. One vendor didn't, you know, submit a proposal, but we got 2 good ones that perform this work, and this is what we think is the best option for the city.
Just because this is a petroleum-based product, do we have anything else that is petroleum-based that we need to be looking at? Because if these costs are gonna jump to that magnitude, like you just said, I don't think we can afford to wait.
All right, motion, there is a motion to, in the second to approve, roll call vote.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Brummett,
Yes.
Chin,
No.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
All right, motion is approved. Harrison Bostwick Street resurfacing project. Mr. Manager, you're going to talk about that, or is the DPW director going to talk about it?
I think I'll take a first shot at it. Again, we solicited proposal for work associated with our grant that we're, a small urban grant for engineering services. Sent them directly to 6 firms that are of a size that would be sufficient to service and take Charlotte serious. The low bid was provided by Spalding de Decker, and you can see the range that was provided within it. Again, soliciting, you know, bids from, you know, engineering firms that we thought were capable of doing the work. And part of the reason for also putting this on here is, you know, Miss Whitney has indicated, and it's actually good for a community to identify anywhere from 4 to 6 engineering firms so that you're not going out all the time, putting it out for bid. But there's firms that you know that can do the work. And again, part of it is you want to deal with firms that are large enough to take you seriously, but also you don't want to be involved with a firm that's way too big that's not going to take you seriously. So there's kind of these firms fit within that, what I would call sweet spot, that they're large enough to do what we need to be done, but not so large that they're not going to take us seriously, or if they're too small, don't have the resources that you need. So this is kind of what we'd like to do going forward, is have a group of engineering firms that would be bidding on the projects going forward, which is precisely why we wanted to talk about this tonight. This is just kind of an example.
Okay, and the reason that I'm allowing him or the DPW director to talk before we have a motion is because they're not on the council. We can't discuss it until we have something to discuss. Everybody understand that? Not going around anything, but we can get information from the staff about something. Now you can make a motion to approve or disapprove, however you want to do it. So, is there a motion?
So moved.
Which way? To approve?
To approve, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
And moved in second to approve. Is there discussion on the council? Mr. Rodriguez.
From where to where on each of these streets, or the entire street? From where to where are they looking to, like, from where to where are we looking to actually repair? Are we going all the way down to the church?
So, yeah, it's Harris from Cochran to the dead end, the railroad tracks right here. And then Bostwick from Lawrence all the way down to Foot.
And Bostwick, from Lawrence to Foot, which is actually really bad. So,
Oh,
I will
save it.
reserve my question.
Any other discussion down here? Mr. Chin?
Yeah, again, I just want to point out that this does not follow our purchasing policy is written and approved by council. And I just want to make that note on record.
Any other discussion? Mr. Brown?
I appreciate the fact that it appears there's numbers there that give an opportunity for us to spend almost double to go with what I see as Rose Professional Services in that regard. And I see $63,000 with the Spalding Decker, yeah? And so I don't really understand how it is that we're going against what our policy is. We at least have 6 different opportunities, and we could gladly do double the money and go with a company that seems to be the one that we used to go with without any issue at all. As I understand, they used to win quite a few of the bids for a lot of the things within the city. So we have an opportunity to save anywhere in between that. So maybe I don't understand the purchasing policy completely. No one's approved this yet, so therefore we didn't say that we are going to go against our purchasing policy. We're just having discussion currently. We agreed to do that. We can all vote it down, and we can go ahead and let those streets somehow improve miraculously on their own. Or we could potentially approve to move forward with the possibility of improving them at half the cost if we want to go with a little bit low bid. But I'll tell you on the record, likely I will not approve going on the low bid because most times that's going on the cheap, and then miraculously they will improve on their own to a better degree than the low bid, generally speaking. So that's all I have for discussion on that.
I just wanted to say, I do not see this as anything but we hired you to discern, and you have discerned. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez?
In the motion to approve, it wasn't stated to go with which group. So do we have to have another motion to say which group
It
we're
would be
specifically talking about?
whoever was recommended.
Oh, okay, so it was to go with the recommendation, the
Yes,
approval to.
that's what we're approving
Okay, perfect.
or disapproving.
Second, I think, given our discussion today, it shows why it's so important for the purchasing policy to be back on the agenda. You know, I voted in favor of many things, and we need the policy back on the agenda because the reality is, if you read the policy, it doesn't follow it. It follows the spirit of it, which I appreciate, but that's why we need it back on the table, because we, in my opinion, should probably give our city manager a little more discretion to be able to discern and say, hey, listen, I'm following the spirit of it. I'm making sure that we're finding good competitive prices. But if we're talking about following the policy, that it's clear. The policy is clear.
We'll handle that later.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we need to do, either change the policy or follow the policy. And right now, we're not following the policy. And also, the policy does not talk low bid. It talks about qualified, and we have latitude in which to identify a bidder that is more qualified than the other, or more experienced, and that certainly can come to council and a recommendation on those bids. Low bid is not the only factor that we have put in the policy. There's a couple paragraphs that talks about, you know, the most competent bid, I believe it's called. So just to make sure everyone understands the policy, it's not a low bid policy.
Anything else?
Yeah, just a little bit more. All right. So based on those that haven't read what I'm reading here, the desire is to move with a recommendation to take the low bid for the public's sake of what is being discussed. However, if there was a desire within this council to make a recommendation to not go with the low bid, and someone felt as though there was someone slightly higher, still the money isn't being spent without our approval. Currently, we're talking about approving the spending of the money and following the recommendation. So we have that opportunity right now, through the purchasing agreement, to go ahead and recommend that we want to go with the second highest bid or the middle bid, if we choose to. Or we could just go ahead and turn it down. And like I said, the streets may take care of themselves all on their own. But that's why we have this discussion. That's why we had the motion and the support. And there's where we're at. And then we could vote and decide not to. And then we followed our purchasing agreement, as I understand it, to a T. We've just decided not to fix things that need fixed and not to take the low bid by recommendation. But that's about the end of my discussion.
Did you have something, Mr. Newman?
I did. I'm trying to, understand kind of what Councilman Brummett said, and Councilman Chin on, I haven't read the purchasing policy, so I don't know it verbatim. But I've been involved in a lot of requests for quotes, RFQs, and a lot of, large dollar sums of this nature. I guess if I can ask Stephanie a question, the reason is the reason we're going with the 63,000, is it just based off of that's the cheapest price and that's a good budget figure, or have we done work with this group before? Is there any other outside of Rowe? I know we've done a lot of work with them as a city in the past. Is there any other firms on this list that we've actually got experience with, and we know that this Spalding Decker is going to do a top-notch job, and we're not going to chase this in 5 years because what they did was not perfect and has degraded again, and now we're spending more money to fix it when we could have spent $87,000 in the first place and had it last the 15 to 20 years that we're expecting.
So I solicited bids to the companies that I feel comfortable with doing any work in the city. I will take you back to when I started. Spalding Decker was actually the interim DPW director before I came here, and was still on probably for 6 months while I was here. And they also did the inspection of Walnut Street. So I'm going to reiterate again. I hand solicited bids to X, Y, and Z because those are the companies that I am comfortable with doing work in our city. And maybe some of you don't know, but I came from the consulting world, right? So I worked for, actually a company on here is E&G. I know they're capable because I worked there, right? And in the consulting world, we consult with all the different consultants. So I have a pretty good idea of who can do the work and who's qualified to do the work. And so these are the firms that I'm comfortable with sending these soliciting bids out to. And then to point on what Vince was saying, soliciting it to, 4 to 6 groups, I think in my mind is a lot better because I have the knowledge of knowing that all of these groups are capable of doing the work and I don't even have to question it. Instead of sending it out to bid and getting, bids from who knows who, right? And it's just an extra step in the process when we have 6 firms here that we know are capable of doing the work with a wide variety of spread of pricing. I guess I don't really see where the issue is. But yeah, so Spalding I'm totally fine with. I would have never sent them a request for a proposal if I wasn't comfortable with them doing work here.
If, again, just in the context of it, think of it as a pre-qualification process, which is not uncommon in a lot of cases for professional services and contractors, is that you will sometimes, in advance of soliciting proposals, do a pre-qualification where they provide your qualifications. In this case here, these are all firms that I'm familiar with, and certainly with Stephanie as well, that are capable of doing the work. And so, if I think if in some ways, if we're going to revisit the purchasing policy, there may be, I can come up with some language that would provide the discretion where we have a list of engineering firms for specific road work that we would consider. So.
I do have one more little bit to add too. When speaking with some of the firms, when you do like, let's say the city pre-quals 4 firms, right? We're actually gonna get better pricing because those firms know that this work's only going to 4 people, right? And so they'll actually give you better pricing rates for knowing that work is going to come from them, from your city, so.
We'll hold that kind of discussion later on. Is there some more discussion on the motion to approve the recommendation?
No.
No? Yes?
I just want to make sure that everyone sitting up here right now is clear and understands that we're not paying this money to actually fix the road. We're paying for engineering and doing the work of seeing what it would take to fix the road, because for us to fix the roads, it takes a lot of money. I'm sure it's well over $1 million a mile now at this point, which last time I heard that's where it was. But, so what this is meant to do is we're probably going to be going for grants, and you can't even go for those grants until you have information. So this is not actually fixing the roads. This is getting the engineering and planning and everything done for that. Is there anything I'm missing there?
So it's the design and construction inspection of the small urban grant that we already got, that we're going to be receiving in '27. So we got $420,000 towards this road project. It has to be designed and bid out it has to be let by October 1, and then we have to spend the funds within 1 year of October 1. We have to make some sort of progress on this project itself, fixing the road per se. So the grant funds are already there. This is the design and construction inspection of it.
Is that?
So you are,
And keep in mind, this is a timeline.
it's not fixing the road. Design, they're gonna make the inspections, they're gonna tell the contractors what they gotta do. We haven't got the bids for fixing
The
it.
fact that we did already actually get the grant
Yes.
approved.
Yep.
I think we even
Yes.
had that grant.
Yes, we already have that.
Even better news. Thank you.
Roll call vote. Yes.
Brumman?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Chin?
No.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carries. And then can we ask you, right while we're thinking about it, to bring us something at the next meeting?
Yep.
About the purchasing policy and what you would do to clear up whatever you want.
Observations and certainly
Okay.
a specific item as well.
So that will be on the next agenda.
Yep.
Mr. Newman, did you have a
Can I make
question?
a request to have the policy emailed out to us?
Yeah, we'll get that out.
After he gets it, the way he was going to propose it? Or do you want the old one too?
I'd like both of them.
Okay, so he wants both. It's in the ordinance, but you just have to find it. It's not that hard to find, but.
We'll get it.
So email the existing proposed, okay? That'd be good.
Yep.
All right, move on. Resolution opposing legislation preempting local zoning. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I think everybody knows
Just-
what's going on with that.
Just one quick add. I was able to attend Representative Whitworth's coffee last week, and this is one of the questions I asked her about was this particular legislation. As she says right now, in the House, it still has a majority of support, but it doesn't have the support that it started with. So it is slowly dwindling. So actions like this just help bring that down. So I would much rather that our zoning department be able to make those decisions for our city rather than someone sitting behind a desk in Lansing telling our residents what they can and cannot do with their property. So that's kind of the long and short of this, and I certainly hope everyone will support this.
I do seem in favor of supporting this. The issue I have is, I looked over this when you get it on Friday, had a busy weekend, and really didn't have the chance to observe what the pros and the cons, so although, as I read through it, I think, yes, I'm in support of this. I would rather this stay at a local level. I mean, that's kind of a general how I am about all things, really. But what I don't understand is what's the argument for why they want to move it, to a one-size-fits-all kind of policy? And I feel awkward about sending this, not fully understanding or hearing from somebody explaining why it is, they want to keep this. I personally feel like if I could table this for 2 weeks, I would feel more confident in my vote 2 weeks from now if I had more time to look into this.
Mr. Chen.
Historically, the reason for this legislation, in talking to both the MML lobbyists and our senator and our representative, is the fact that there are a lot of communities that have passed zoning regulations to try to stop low-income housing from being built. The one thing that I wanted to say on it, although, the MML is trying to not get this passed, is the fact that I don't know if we've looked at the specific requirements to see whether or not they are different than our new ordinance. And if they are, then, we're just saying, that we don't want, the problem is that we don't want the state starting or continuing to direct us to do more things. That's the big issue. Some of the things that are in it, I don't know if they're bad or good yet, because I didn't have the chance to look at our new zoning ordinance and see how it compares to what they're requiring, because they're talking about things like instead of an ordinance that requires so many parking spaces, they're saying that one is enough, and so there's square footage, and so that people can build smaller homes, those types of things. But again, I'd be in favor of tabling so that we can have administration look at what the requirements are in the bill and see how it matches up to our new zoning ordinance and see whether or not it's even an issue from that standpoint. So that's just my thought on it from
Thank you. I have read through quite a bit of this. I mean, I think the big thing is, as a city, when we invest into updating our master plan, which just happened recently, and now we're in the zoning phase, and that's not too far down the road from coming to council. And then all of a sudden, the legislature just cast a vote and they pass this, and they can come in and pretty much override everything that we worked on that was good for our city. Because what's good for Lansing probably is not good for Charlotte. What's good for Charlotte, likewise, probably not real good for Lansing. They're just different fits. And to take something as a one-size-fits-all and it applies to everybody makes zero sense. I mean, if they wanted to take this and invest some more work in it, I think there could be some positive out of this. But the way everything is written up now, all the work we've invested and zoning has invested in some of these cases is for naught, because they just want to override it. And I think the old adage, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. So let's not give them the inch. Let's support this. Thanks.
From the layman's term aspect of it, because they don't write this stuff up, on a napkin and pass it through the legislature without some real thought process into it. That may not always have us little small towns in mind, because we have very little representation at the state level anyway, I believe. We're just small town Charlotte. But you have people who want to be Okemos. And then they think about it and they're like, I don't really want to be like Okemos, because it is what it is, it's Okemos, whatever that be. Or maybe they do. But the truth of the matter is that if we say condone this, then we're saying that places like, Iron Mountain should be like Okemos. And that wouldn't work. I mean, this is statewide. This isn't just for our little town. but we have local government for a reason. Every decision we make within this city, every time we meet every 2 weeks, is because we care about what we have. But if you allow the state to say, well, we care about you too, but we allow you to cut your properties up into little tiny pieces, and all of a sudden now you can have a grandmother house in the backyard of a house, of a property that only is, you know, 1/10 of an acre, because it fits the mold. Well, if that's what we want as a city, let's do it ourselves. We don't need the state to tell us it's okay. And if we let the state tell us it's okay, then what else are they gonna say that's okay? And when are they gonna stop that? And when do we decide that, you know, now we don't have a local government, we just have a state government tells us how to run our city? That's the whole reason we talked about some of the other things related to, you know, our budget and our ability to pay for the pensions and all that. So we need to hold on to what we have. We have ordinances, we have different zoning in place. We've even tried to bring the building code back to the city. Well, I mean, in some regards, this is kind of pointless, you know? Go ahead and let the state, well, now why don't we have a state building code and run everything through them? I personally think that whether there's benefits or not, we can do those benefits ourselves with what we have at our disposal, with the people who actually live in the city of Charlotte. So I think we're doing a disservice if we allow the state to tell us that we don't know how to have our own properties zoned. So
I want to add something. Mr. Chen and I have been working to build workforce housing for a couple of years to get that stimulated, to get that going. I could easily argue that these people who, these separate entities who have come up with these new laws are doing so to help me out. They're trying to make sure that big money doesn't make sure this doesn't happen in my town. And I want you to know that I could argue that if I wanted to. I'm voting for this as an affront, as a statement, as like they're saying, is like, this is our decision. We've worked very hard to build this. We don't, and I see this as just ripping it right out of our hands and saying, no, you can't make these decisions on your own. You can't be allowed to make these decisions on your own. So that's where I sit.
Okay, motion on the floor. You can make the motion.
All right, I moved the table to the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second to table the motion until the next meeting. There's no discussion. All those in favor say, of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
How did you vote?
I completely
Oh, roll
missed,
call
I
vote
missed
then.
it.
I'm not-
What do we, all right, what's,
I'm not certain of the outcome. The motion to table. So that if you vote
Okay, the
yes, you
motion
table the
to-
motion.
so this is
Vote
to
no, you
table.
vote not.
Okay.
The motion was to table that. Roll call vote.
Fullerton,
No.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Newman,
No.
Scott,
No.
Christensen,
no.
Brummett,
no.
Chin.
Motion-
Yes.
Motion is not tabled, therefore we have a motion on the floor to pass this resolution, and it would be opposing legislation preempting local zoning. Proceed with that vote with a roll call vote. The motion was to approve that resolution. Roll call?
Fullerton,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Brummett,
Yes.
Chin.
Yes.
Takes us to Resolution 2026-23, Special Assessment District, Resolution Number 4. The clerk, or the treasurer has prepared the necessary documents, and they're been published. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second to approve the resolution. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And the motion is carried. Brings us to Resolution 2026, initiate creation of an obsolete property rehabilitation district. And before we do that, have the corrections been made on the address?
Yes,
217.
We need to have it reflected, it's 217.
Everything
Yep.
that we got was 207? That's not correct. It's 217.
Move.
Move to approve?
Move to approve.
there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
I second it.
Okay,
Yeah.
discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, I think the official documents they submitted, it did say 217. It was just in some of the reporting.
Well, actually, the resolution said 207, which would make the
resolution did
resolution
say it. Yeah, you're right.
null and void.
I understand.
That's why it was so important.
Yeah. I just have a question about this, like, because this the language about creating a district, like, how does that work? Like, once you, like, are we just creating a district around this one building, and then is it easy to add buildings in, or is it, oh, we have two of these same districts, or do we need to do the whole city?
It's a good point, if I may, through the mayor, is it's not uncommon to have a single property district. And one of the things that goes with it, I mean, I had some discussion about creating what we would identify as a geographic area district in the downtown. And each one would be subject to a review by the assessor whether an application meets the criteria of being functionally obsolete. I think in this case here, you've already got one. I can't even remember where the address is, but it's not uncommon to do a single parcel property district. But clearly, I think for ease of the applicants in the future, if this is something that the council would want, we could easily put something together that defines it. Now, it's going to take a little bit more work. You got to put together the legal description associated, all the parcels that would be involved with it. But I think going forward, as this project gets wind, it's something council should consider as making a genuine geographic district far broader than doing one at a time.
For people, could you expound on
Yeah.
what this does?
Oh, yes.
Or
Yeah, and I think probably the assessor probably does it as well in explaining it, is that what it does is if you take the current property, the value, the taxable value, land, as well as the structure on it, it does freeze that, any improvements that would add to the taxable value of it, so that the incentive is, we'll make this investment, but we won't see our property taxes increase as a result of it for up to 12 years. And so it's not an uncommon incentive in some older downtowns, particularly where you're looking to have the upper floors are redeveloped and primarily occupied for as apartments. But yeah, it does freeze what the value is for that. Now, the exception to it is the state of Michigan gets the full shot of the taxable value. So as the assessor said, there's 3 different tax bills you're going to get, and one of them is going to be a tax bill in which you're going to be paying, the state education and non-homestead tax to the state at its new taxable value based on the improvements. From the city's end of it, it's going to be frozen for up to 12 years. And so, but.
did you have more questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to look at this from the other perspective. Like, in doing this project, does it make it easier to expand the process? I mean, in other words, we've started one,
I think sometimes it's, now that the education is there, you can appreciate, and the fact that you asked the question is a good one. It's easier if you want to just make the entire district, knowing full well that in order for a property to qualify, the assessor still has to do a determination that the property is functionally obsolete. But it'd be all encompassing, so you don't have to go through the public hearing process. That's all it would have been accomplished by creating a district.
Very good.
Well, I guess the question is really, that I'm having is, why, should we be designating more? But it sounds like you could have multiple single property districts.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. That's what
I had multiple single district properties in Monroe.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And the next thing is, it talks about tax freezes and the value of the building at its pre-rehabilitated levels for 1 to 12 years. Who's doing the determination on how long they get to freeze that? Is that something done at city level?
Right here at the council.
Okay.
You know, I would recommend the 12, given the level of investment that's going to be required to bring it back up to a serviceable standard. But, and that's typically what developers will want to build their financial model on.
Okay, well, in the past, we have passed a council policy so that every time somebody wants to do something like this, they don't have to keep coming back and say, well, I want 12 and I want 8. If we just have a clear standard, we say, we're just doing this amount every time. It does help the process along a little bit, so I think I'd also be in favor of that. Thanks.
Mr. Chin.
Yeah, as you will recall, Councilman Rodriguez, the policy is, and there were two that we did earlier, but the policy is 10 years only and not 12 because the apartment place requested 12 years and we denied it because of the policy that we could only go 10 years.
But that was a pilot project, right? Payment in lieu of taxes. That's different than this.
This is different, yeah.
Mr. Christensen.
I know it's not the same, but it sounds like it kind of operates similar to like when Markton came to town, they wanted to buy and invest, so they get an abatement for X number of years. Is this kind of the same process, or?
Well, with the.
Because they're not per se a district, but.
That they are.
Yeah, but they are, but they're making that investment just like these folks are, so that's where I'm wondering where the comparison.
The difference is going to be with, you know, an ITF is that it's, IFT, is going to be that you're going to have it up to 12 years, but it's typically going to be a 50% value. So if it goes from, you know, $1 million to $3 million, okay, you're going to be using the difference at half the value, but you're still going to get $1 million, as opposed to this where it flat out freezes it. But
this is mainly for obsolete old buildings.
Yes.
that are in disrepair.
Yep.
Not a new build.
Not a new building. That's probably a great distinction to make. Yes.
Okay.
I just want to give a tangible example. I think this is kind of how we did Rio Town, right? I mean,
It would be a good candidate based on what I knew. I couldn't say that's how they did it.
Right. I mean, every piece of property needed rehabilitation, and
Yep.
and no developer could do that on their own. Right.
Anything further? Proceed to vote then. All those in favor of passing the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2026, number 25, budget amendment fiscal year 25-26.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion? Pretty common. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the last thing on the business agenda, which is
Deadline.
approval of authorized, no, I'm sorry.
Deadline.
Deadline.
What'd you say?
Agenda deadline for documents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I better put my glasses on.
I asked this to be
Approval of
moved.
agenda deadline for document submission.
Yeah.
There's a,
I just had a couple of questions. Number one,
let's put something on,
Yeah.
let's put something
So moved.
so moved.
in second.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Chin.
Okay. Although the charter says one thing, we could just arbitrarily change what the charter says without going through a charter amendment?
No, you can't. And I was part of this. She's not changing the charter. Even if you look down at the bottom, it says, this policy serves as an internal administrative guideline and does not amend the charter. Compliance is expected from all. So what she's trying to do is, that's the last statement there. What she's trying to do is to get people to turn their stuff in ahead of time.
Yep.
So that when you walk in here, you know, think about this. If we were doing stuff for the city and everybody came to the clerk's office at 11:30 on Friday and said, here's what I want, here's what I want, here's what I want, you realize how, she probably wouldn't be here very long. And it's been becoming a worse and worse problem. However, the charter does say that we have until Friday at noon. So if there's something that needs to be done, and this can happen, we can have a bill come in this late, and they might want to change what's going to be on the claims. All she has to do is do an addendum to the agenda, and that makes everything legal, because then the addendum is part of the agenda that was sent out. So it's added to the agenda automatically if she, as the clerk, determines it's necessary. Now, if you came in and said, you know, I want to have a birthday party somewhere, so she's probably going to say no. But that is, her problem is staying here until late at night and getting slammed with all that stuff. So this is what we came up with in a way of circumventing it. The department heads will have to abide by this by more than anything, because their boss is going to make them do that. If they don't turn it in by noon on Wednesday, it's not going to be on the agenda. Pretty much true, right?
It's a structure and discipline that it's in many ways to the benefit of the council to actually get the packets out earlier.
Yeah, I was going to ask whether or not
Yeah, that's
we'll
really
get
part of it is,
packets like Wednesday night.
Yeah. Or maybe Thursdays, but probably be,
Yeah.
but we, you know, having done it in the past, I mean, I had a Tuesday deadline, and that gave me a full day to review and make edits to any reports that came to council. So we're not scrambling at the last minute to, you know, throw something together and then get to the meeting and be somewhat embarrassed that, oh, we overlooked this, like 2000.
It's deadlines. I mean,
Yeah.
because I've been in the business, sometimes something comes in on Thursday, and you forgot about it, and it got here, and then it's like, wait for 3 weeks, because it might be the 3-week time when we don't meet. So, you know, if everybody's good with it, it's not changing the charter. It's just helping the clerk with her job. Mr. Christensen.
This is probably because of my bad, and I actually had sent a email to Vince, and lo and behold, I was scratching my head when I seen this, and then I realized it was in my draft folder. I'd never sent. So, and that's why I didn't get that to you in reasonable time. So,
It wasn't because of you, though.
no, I thought it was.
No.
I really did.
No.
It was between myself and the clerk to start with, and he popped in the door.
He lives for another day.
Mr. Rodriguez.
So I think, yeah, this is pretty important. I think it's good to have a deadline. I think this says, you know, no later than 12 o'clock noon on Friday. So, you know, you really shouldn't be moving. Like no one up here should be really waiting till the last minute to try to do that. It seems to me that it does like muddy the waters a little bit, because in the charter, it basically tells us who has to prepare the agenda, but it really doesn't say anything beyond that on like, okay, who has the authority to put stuff on the agenda? Like that, I mean, it says in the charter that basically we can make our own rules as far as how the meetings are gonna be conducted and run. And so it really doesn't say anywhere in the charter where, you know, the city manager determines what's on the agenda, or the mayor, or council members. We have a council policy that says you can, or I can, or any.
It's actually in there in places, and then two council people
Two council, yeah.
can turn anything into the clerk and have it placed on the agenda. It's in the charter. Trust me.
It's not in the charter. The two people on the agenda is for calling a special meeting.
Yeah, but that would be anything on the agenda.
The-
You can call a special meeting and put that on the agenda.
Right.
We could call a special meeting and put it on the agenda, but it doesn't say anything about putting it on just regular council meetings. And actually, the charter differentiates between regular meetings and special meetings. The question I have is, if we have a council policy that allows a council member to put something on the agenda, and then the charter says I have till noon, if I show up on noon, doesn't it have to be on the agenda, even though what we're trying to do here is improve the quality of how this information's
You're absolutely correct. It has to be put on the agenda. If somebody has the authority to place it on the agenda, and it gets here before noon on Friday, she would have to put it on.
Okay, but
But
this
she
is
might try
us
to talk you,
agreeing
she might try to talk you out of it, because that's what it says in that policy, is that at the clerk's discretion. So we have to trust in our employees. She needs more time. We don't have time to change the charter. We're not gonna go to the vote of the people just to change something like this. So this was our best way around it to give her more time and to make our lives easier.
Okay. And will that, I think it would be a good idea to make sure we provide this policy to new council members that come on, because otherwise they're gonna be confused, I think. And so I think onboarding new council members is actually a committee I'd be interested in starting, so that way we can set up a system to onboard new council members, because when I jumped on, you know, there's a whole mess of things you just don't know, and then you screw everything up, and then the mayor's mad at you every single week. So that'd be nice to avoid, but, all right, I'm ready to vote in favor.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That brings us to staff comments. Mr. Daly, DPW Director.
He never says anything.
Can I use the opportunity to?
I'm sorry. We have public comment first. Maybe there's some public to comment. Here we go.
Nicole Christensen, Charlotte resident, also a Eaton County Commissioner for District 12. I wanted to come and share a couple things going on within the district, also the county. There, this Saturday night, May 2nd, 7 p.m. at the Courthouse Square Museum, they are doing a murder mystery. So if you think you're a good detective, head on over. There's still tickets available, the last I was told. I also wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to Evening Rotary, Councilman Christensen, and Friends of Eaton County Animals for the trash cleanup that we did last Wednesday. We ended up with 32 bags of garbage. Thank you to the DPW for letting us have the bags and also disposing of it in their trash can. I felt bad. It was pretty full. It was empty when we started, but it was full when we finished. So that was a good thing. And then also, May 9th, this is in Delta Township. There was one in Charlotte in August. But from 9 to noon, there is a spring cleanup. I think I had mentioned this in the past. You can go to eatoncounty.org and just type in the search bar spring cleanup. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Plus, you have to pre-register to be able to even find out where you're going that day. And lastly, I just want to thank the city and the DPW. Anybody else that was involved, I don't know all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but for the Charlotte Tree Nursery, we went to that kickoff on Friday. It was great to see the people that showed up and the fact that the city is being proactive. We're going to save some money by doing our own trees. And they were able to get 270 trees planted, so that was pretty phenomenal. That's all I have. Thank you.
John Laup, 114 East Lovett. Couple things. So on the obsolete property rehabilitation, the one thing to remember there is that property is within the downtown development district. So in the 12 years, assuming there's no extension for a brownfield or anything, any increase in the value as far as the taxes related to that will go to the DDA. And any other property that's within the district that potentially could come before the council, that's where any increases from taxes based upon valuation would go. Switch here back to the resolution with regards to what the state was doing. I did some research today. I think it's in May that the updated zoning ordinance comes in front of the council. And I did some research on that. What I did find interesting is some of the things that the state has proposed in this legislation is in the updated zoning ordinance, such as the parking minimum is one. The accessory dwelling units are allowed. Now, obviously, there's certain restrictions and what they have to look like. So some of the things that they're doing, we have as well. I realize the concern with regards to local control versus state control. But the problem is that they obviously see an issue. I don't see it having stemmed from us, but just a few bad apples can cause the whole issue and to get things that gets put to everybody. I lived on the east side of the state for approximately 20 years and worked in many communities that used zoning as the modern redlining. You know, you had to have at least an acre, 3,500 square foot house, and they were basically keeping out the people they didn't want to keep in. In fact, there was an article I read today from just a month or two ago where SEMCOG, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, were doing something similar to what you did in your resolution. But the problem that I had, they were all about supporting affordable housing. But one of the, I think it was the Macomb Township supervisor, indicated he was in support of it, but he moved to the community he moved to because he wanted to invest in it and didn't want to see a duplex next to his house. So basically, it's the old, I'm for it, but don't put it where I can see it. So that's the issue that I understand the state is trying to deal with, and unfortunately, you have to do it as a statewide and not just pick and choose, because you just can't put a law just on some and not on others. And the other thing to remember as well is what they're talking about are minimums. They're not saying you other things you can't do, but they are just solely minimums. But I would like to see some kind of comparison when the zoning ordinance updated is in front of the council with regards to what, you know, we've done and what the state is trying to do in their legislation. Thank you.
Hello again, because I'm still here. Amanda Pollard, probate judge. We are hosting Law Day at the courthouse this Friday from 1 until 4 o'clock in the afternoon for anyone who's interested. It is the 250th anniversary of the signing of our Declaration of Independence, as we all know, and we're all excited about celebrating. So the Supreme Court said that we're going to be having a Law Day. You can come to the courthouse, you can tour it. We'll have our courtrooms open. We'll have presentations from local vendors. We hosted an art and essay contest for the local schools so that the kids could be engaged with what does law and the American dream mean to us. So it's a really exciting day. You're welcome to come and join us. We'll have popcorn and ask us some questions about what we do. So hope to see you there, 1 to 4 at the courthouse.
Anyone else for public comment? Anybody online?
No.
No one online? We already asked the staff. Do we have to ask again? Same answer. Council, starting over here with Mr. Christensen.
Thank you. First of all, thanks to all of you that came out tonight and those watching online. I'll assume we have quite a few. We usually do. I've heard some good things about us being on the YouTube. Things are a lot better. They can hear us a lot better. They can see us a lot better. So a lot of good things came out of those decisions we made not too long ago about some improvements in here. I certainly want to thank Controller Dawson, our 9-1 Deputy Director DeVetter, Judge Van Langenveld, Judge Pollard. I think that's good when we can get together and just have a little conversation. I liked when we were invited to the county here a few weeks ago and we had a chance for some back and forth. Granted, tonight we couldn't have any back and forth so much, but I think these updates on both sides are important. So I think it finds more ways that we can work together. So definitely for that. Also, I'll mention is my wife did. We picked up a lot of trash on Earth Day on Wednesday. It was, I was just running out of words to say every time we filled the bags that Stephanie got for us that were bigger and taller than I was. And I'm trying to keep them up. But we picked up everything from fuel tanks to mattresses. It was crazy, the stuff that people will throw out in a ditch or on the side of the road in town. But we definitely did fill the dumpster. Friends of Eaton County Animals, Charlotte Evening Rotary on the night shift. We had a good time. Also, for everyone involved at the new tree nursery, thanks for letting me come down for the opening celebration, as well as letting me help plant about 170 trees before I had to leave that night. But we spent our Saturday nursing each other because we could hardly walk and we could hardly move our arms. But it's well worth the effort. I say Charlotte's a much better city when we all work together. So have a great night, folks. Thanks.
Just thanks to everybody that showed up here, all of the great conversation, those that are online and listening as well. I really don't have much more to say.
Be shorter than that.
Okay, that's tough. I won't be as long as I could be. It's already been said, the tree nursery, for a legacy that this city can set an example beyond any other city to plant trees that we will not have to purchase, but yet transplant. So I think that's outstanding. I think that it needs a little four-letter word or four-letter acronym like everything else. So I'm thinking that like the Charlotte City Tree Nursery, the CCTN would be pretty awesome. But just the same, in addition to that, I think I agree with we will move forward if we work together. So if there's challenges that anyone sees within the city that we can collaborate on in order to fix or rectify, in addition to that, understanding how it functions. When we have deadlines for certain entities within the city, we identify those deadlines and then we either conform or we get them changed. Namely, right now, the big buzz, as I see it, is some people don't understand the rotation of the water bill. I do believe we have like 3 different zones within the city, and I will defer to the director of the Department of Public Works if that's the case, and there's not 3. So your water meter is read, and after your water meter is read, then it is recorded, and then it is billed out. If you know your rotation, your bill will be due on a certain day, and then it's late after that. And if you don't like that it's late, well, then figure out when it's late, and don't make a big stink outside of there, because it's huge. The stink is huge. People don't understand that when the deadline is the deadline, then that's when it's due, and if there's a late fee, well, pay it on time. And I feel for those that don't have the funds, but just the same, it's not a problem that, you can't fix on your own. So, and I think we have pretty darn good water here, and it's monitored regularly, so we know that it's drinkable and safe, whether you think so or otherwise, the state says it is. So that's about the extent of that.
I'll be brief. I want to thank everyone for coming. I have normal office hours on Tuesdays at Phase between 10 and noon. Where I can be argued with or debated or agreed with or planned with. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Chen.
Yes, a quick report. MML, there is some bills being introduced that will, there's continuing care communities, it's called. And what it is that there are some of them that are nonprofit, and some are exempt from property tax, some aren't. And so they're trying to figure out whether to just exempt everyone or not. So that this may have impact on us because we have a couple of long-term care facilities here. The Revenue Sharing Trust Fund is moving. Looks like we might see something on that. Legislature's taking up legislation or looking at data centers. That's the bit hot topic right now on whether to allow them or not. Legislation on when to take office. That is going to impact Charlotte because election, we take the oath of office like the next Monday, and they're pushing that out because of the mail-in ballots that could come in 9 days after the election. So, and then I mentioned this before, but they're still looking at the flock readers, and the big issue is the time to hold the actual pictures that they take. They're looking at the police departments and the fire police chiefs and that want to be able to hold on to them for a little longer. And the legislature's talking about just allowing them to keep them for 30 days. And so that's the big And then the last thing I kind of found funny, but plumbers are the only trades that does not allow the plumber to be in plumbing inspectors. So they got to be inspectors or plumbers. They can't be plumbers who do public, so whatever. Yeah. Meeting this morning with Senator Slotkin on cybersecurity, and it is a call to action for all governmental agencies to better take a look at what you're doing for cybersecurity. With the introduction of AI, they're seeing reports that have increased the number of attacks, especially on governmental agencies, because they seem to be the easiest to be able to get into and stop your IT from operating. So as we move along, and I think we're looking at having a contract IT, I think they mentioned that make sure that they have a good cybersecurity plan in place for that. I also attended the ribbon cutting for the new Charlotte Insurance, which is located now downtown and filling up space, and got to tour their facility, and they did a bang-up job of renovating that space for their offices. It's tricky because it looks small, but when you move into it, it's a large amount of space that they've taken over. And the other one is also participated in Arbor Day, and then also I'm a member now of the Eaton County Food Council, which is looking at the food needs of the homeless and people in poverty. So we're planning on launching media to let people know that we're there and to assist those in need. That's it. Oh, I did have a question. Who is the designated web administrator? So as we go through the web and we find errors in that we should report them to city clerk. Okay. I looked at the Brownfield Committee, and we haven't met since 2000 or 1999 or something. We've had 2 meetings already. So, yeah, and members.
Thank you. Just remember, we do have a lot of open seats coming up in the election right here. I know a lot of people online talk about getting involved or finding out more about what's happening up here. And, you know, your opinions on a lot of things will change once you sit in the seat. Things that I thought before I had to sit down and actually put my name to a vote. You know, a lot of things have changed. It's much easier when you have limited information. And so I would just encourage those who have the time and who love their community, you know, sign up to be on the ballot and give it a shot and run for it. I think options are great. We've seen many elections where there's only one person that runs. And so I think it would be great to have people, you know, multiple people for the seats and actually have the choices and be able to talk to candidates and actually research, okay, what does this person think other than there's only one guy and somebody has to do the job, you know? So it will make you do your homework. My seat was contested, and I'm glad it was because it made me actually get out and talk to people, go door to door, and really learn the issues that people had before getting elected, where if I was just a sure thing, I'm not sure I would have even done that. So look for that. I will not be running again, but I think there's already a couple people running for my seat. So look at some of the district seats. Thanks.
And I don't have anything else, so I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Well, that's.
That was easy.